Welcome back on yet another session on SRE Demystified. In this small video, I'm going to briefly explain various documents, templates or user guides that matter for an SRE. And this is first of two series. So there will be one more video on docs that matter. So this is the document, the ACM document that I have taken as a reference for preparing this material. The document is written by employees of Google who explains various types of documents that matter. So let me briefly ask you, why documentation is important? In the early stages of an SRE team's existence, the organization depends heavily on the performance of highly skilled individuals on the team. The team preserves important operational concepts and principles as nuggets of tribal knowledge that are passed on verbally to new team members. If these concepts and principles are not codified and documented, they will often need to be relearned painfully through trial and error. So I think this is sufficient to let you understand why documentation is very important. So let's take different types of jobs that an SRE does and what type of documents are important. So documents for new service onboarding. SREs to conduct production readiness review to make sure that the service meets accepted standards of operational readiness and that service owners have the guidance they need to take advantage of SRE knowledge about running large systems. A service has to go through this review process prior to the initial launch to production. During this stage, the service has no SRE support. The product development team supports the service. The goal of a pre-launch PRR, production readiness review, is to ensure that the service meets certain minimum standards of reliability at the time of its launch. So the important documents include process doc, overview documents, engagement model doc, and PRR template. So what is a PRR template? It essentially addresses these areas like architecture and dependencies, like what is your request flow from user to front end and back end, or different types of requests with the different latency requirements, or capacity planning, how much traffic do you expect during and after the launch, or failure modes, do you have any single point of failure in your design, process and automation, are there manual process required to keep the service running, external dependencies, what third-party code or data services or storage or whatever you need, things like that. And engagement model document, service takeover criteria and the PRR process, what is SLO negotiation process involved and the error budgets involved, and what is a new launch criteria and the launch freeze policy, restaffing requirements and things like that. What about documents for running a service? It is even more complex, right? Running a service is not very easy. So running a service requires knowledge on what the service does, its internal deep dive, its operations, post-mortem details, production policies, and service level agreement. So the documents involve service overview, playbook, post-mortem, policy, service level agreements. Service overview means they are very critical for SREs understanding of the service they support. They need to know the system architecture, components and dependencies, and service contacts and owners. Playbook, it's also called as runbook, is quintessential operational doc. Let's install on-call engineers respond to alerts generated by service monitoring by referring to that doc without much escalations or other dependencies. It reduces the time it takes to mitigate an incident and provide useful links to consoles and procedures. What about post-mortem template? The post-mortem template should have what is post-mortem, by the way? So SREs work with large, complex, distributed system, and they also enhance services with new features and the addition of new systems. Therefore, incidents and outages are inevitable given SRE scale and velocity of change. The post-mortem is an essential tool for SRE, representing its formalized process of learning from incidents. So the post-mortem template may include at the least timeline, description of user impact, root cause, action items and lessons learned. What about policies and SLA? Policy documents are mandatory for technical and non-technical policies for production. Policies could even be applied to production change logging, log retention, internal service naming, etc. etc. And we already know how important SLAs are. SLAs for availability and latency and monitoring service performance relative to SLA are all important. So we need documents for all of them. And then documents for production products. SRE's team spend 50% of their time on project work, developing software that automates away manual work or improving reliability of managed service. So they write a lot of documents for this purpose, and the documents are important because they enable users to find out whether a product is right for them to adopt, how to get started, and how to get support. So there could be an about page that helps SRE and product development engineers understand what the product or tool is, what it does, or there could be concepts guide or glossary defines all the terms unique to the product. Defining terms will help maintain consistency in the doc, or quick start guide, code labs, how to guides, FAQs, support document, how engineers can get help when they are stuck with something, API references, developer guide, etc. etc. So today in this short video we learned documents that are important for a new service onboarding, running a service, production products. There are a lot more documents required, so stay tuned for my next video. And the Bible as usual is Site Reliability Engineering textbook. Thank you very much for listening to my video. Please subscribe, like and share.